Hello, mate.
Yo.
Wait, you're an Xbox player?
What? Yeah, I'm Xbox. Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. What's it like? What's it like playing for PC players on our favorite game ever, ARMA Reforger? It's pretty epic, right?
Yeah, it is pretty epic, not gonna lie, but it does suck running against the PC players robbing me, and I try to fight back, and they just
Oh,
they
is
have
it?
the clear advantage.
Do you not have any aim assist or anything like that?
No aim
Dude,
assist.
can you not just like plug in a
That's
mouse
terrible.
or something?
No, I don't know what the. Oh.
Fucking hell! Did you hear that guy? Did you hear that guy? He said right here. Did you hear him? Did you guys hear him? I heard him, little fucker. Yo, what's up, boys, and welcome back to another video. Was that guy in the intro stream sniping me? We may never know. Anyway, it's been about 2 months now since I last made a video on ARMA Reforger, and in those 2 months, there's been so many things that have happened, which I'm going to cover all of them in today's video, including Reforger being fully cross-platform now between PC and Xbox players. It works pretty good from what I can see. Reforger now having a roadmap, including the addition of a new map at the end of this year, helicopters, vehicles, weapons, new features, all coming to Reforger for free, of course. Reforger's new experimental branch, and as well as that, we are going to be talking about Reforger Life, which I recently got hired into the EPD, which does not stand for Erotic Police Department. It actually stands for Everyone Police Department, okay? Calm down, buddy. And the final thing we're going to talk about is ARMA Reforger dead? People keep on asking it or just stating it as a fact, and I've seen some videos covering that very question. Before we get into today's video though, this video is brought to you by Ridge. You can see with me I have the Ridge Wallet Half Dome as well as the Ridge Key Case. Actually 2 years ago, before I've ever been sponsored by Ridge, I bought this right here, which is the Ridge Wallet Aluminum Black. The new one I've got, the Half Dome, has the cash strap, so you can choose between the metal clip as well as the cash strap. And the reason I like these wallets so much over conventional wallets is their size and also their durability. Since they're made out of metal, they're going to last a lot longer than a fabric one, and you can see the size in terms of its height as well as its width is it's quite a lot nicer. It'll fit in any pocket. You can get Ridge wallets in 30 colors and styles. I chose to get rather simplistic styles just because I'm a simple guy. I like just black plain stuff. But if you want something a bit more colorful, a bit more out there, then of course you can get one of those as well. The wallets come with a lifetime warranty, and if you're not entirely happy with your purchase from Ridge within the first 45 days, you can send it back for a full refund. You can check out the link in the description and use my coupon code SCI to save 10% on your Ridge purchase. We've got a bunch of different products, and if you make a purchase before the 30th of September, which is today, you will also be entered into a Bronco giveaway, or if you prefer, $75,000 in cash. The winner for that will be announced in October, so again, check out the link in the description, and thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. All the topics which I'm going to talk about in today's video will be on the YouTube timeline, so if you want to skip to a specific one, then feel free to do so. Or if you got any comments, I've been following Reforger pretty closely, so I can probably answer whatever questions you got. Just leave it in the comments below. So the first thing was, of course, talking about cross-platform capabilities. I think a lot of people might kind of shrug this one off as not a big deal, but just think about it for a second here. I'll ask you a question and just give me an answer. Can you tell me a true sandbox game with amazing modding tools where you can create and play people's creations in the click of a button, not only by yourself, but with other players, but also other players on other platforms? I thought about this one for a second, and I just can't think of any game that does that. Reforger, and therefore also ARMA 4, allows people to do that. You can play with your console friends from pretty much the click of a button. Gone are the days of ARMA 2 DayZ mod installations.
And once you've done that, you just highlight them all, right click and cut.
We don't need to drag and drop things into certain folders. We just click join and it works. Maybe I'm not thinking of a game which is obvious, but I genuinely can't think of a game that allows that to happen. And the Xbox player base, or the console player base in specific, it's just Reforger isn't on PlayStation right now, but it will be eventually, Bohemia did say. That's a big player base. It's essentially what not really revived DayZ, but it definitely brought a whole new set of eyes to DayZ. If you've ever been a part of the DayZ console community, I'm not part of it, but from what I've heard, it's pretty big. People like that game quite a lot. And also ignoring the idea of playing crossplay on a sandbox platform, but I also can't even think of a game that is exclusively on consoles, which allows you to very easily play these modded servers on any game. Most of the games, for example, what we were just talking about, DayZ, those just don't allow you to play modded servers. That's just not an option, but this allows both communities to come together to share their amazing creations under one lovely little roof. The crossplay integration isn't perfect, but I played on a conflict server, I think with 64 slots. I've seen a bunch of console players there. You'll see some of that gameplay in the background right now. and they both just kind of dealt with one another. We don't have aim assist, as we learned in the intro, so they might struggle a bit with that one. But the point is, console players can finally play what PC players have been playing for years, essentially. Yeah, be advised, gentlemen, we are coming up to Gold Bay. Gold Bay is... oh, that guy just jumped out. That guy just jumped out.
Fire up ahead.
Oh! This is big, and this is the foundation, of course, that will be carried into ARMA 4. So ARMA 4 on release, I'd imagine at least, if not shortly after release, but I've got to say it's probably going to be on release, will have this crossplay function as well. Although having a game on multiple platforms does have some downsides, we won't really get into those today. It definitely has some upsides as well. More players means more money, and more players playing mods mean the modders are happy. It also means potentially more eyes on community-made content, such as YouTubers, Twitch streamers, whatever else. As a whole, it just all snowballs into, much like you can see with DayZ, new all-time highs, which is great to see for everyone. No one's going to complain about new highs for a game that they enjoy thoroughly. Bohemia was seemingly kind of rolling down their development pacing on DayZ standalone, and recently with DayZ, like I said, hitting those new highs, we've seen an awesome update to Livonia, adding in Bohemia's first ever in DayZ underground bunker kind of system. And no, Namalsk does not count because that's technically a DLC despite it being made by Sumrak, the lead developer of DayZ. But I think this update marks a turnaround with standalone, and we can expect to see some exciting things coming to standalone in the future. The video you're watching on screen right now is courtesy of Wobo. You can check out his video in the description below if you want to see the full update. There's a lot of exciting things in that, but it's not currently on DayZ stable, just experimental.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like actually being able to
is that
play
enemies?
Mills.
I think that's enemies. Oh, we're dead. GG. GG, boys.
Enemies.
Holy shit, I'm the best. Fucking console players, mate.
Well, literally.
Next up is the roadmap. I'll have a link to this in the description below, along with pretty much everything else I'm going to be talking about today. But this one is pretty big, in my opinion, and some of this we're going to be seeing very soon. In fact, some of it we can see right now on the experimental branch, which I'll talk about in a second. But either way, the roadmap you're seeing on screen right now, including the new map ELAN, which is a 4x4 kilometer summer Baltic island, that's going to be coming out in Q4 of this year, which is basically in the next 3 months at this point. Island is going to be around about the same size as Stratus on ARMA 3 to give you an idea of how large that is. It's not the biggest map ever. It's significantly smaller than Everon, Everon being 51 square kilometers as opposed to Island, which is about 16 square kilometers. But regardless, new content is new content. I'll happily take a new map. The only thing I'm hoping from Island in specific is that it's not like Livonia with DayZ and ARMA 3, where all of those assets, all of the buildings on Livonia were reused from DayZ and ARMA 3. There wasn't really any new buildings. I think it was like 2 new buildings that were created. So I'm hoping Island has a bunch of new buildings in it. But even if it doesn't, everyone has enough variation in the buildings compared to those games to, I'm sure, keep it fresh anyway. So yeah, this is coming Q4. We've got anti-tank mines, an SA-58P, as well as an SA-58V. You might recognize that gun. It was also in ARMA 2. As well as that, we'll be getting a rifle optic for the first time, since the only optics right now are for the SVD and also the American Sniper. So we'll have a rifle with an optic on it. Amazing. 2 features from this list I will be showing you in a second on the Reforger experimental branch, which by the way, anyone can download. It's literally just ARMA Reforger experimental on Steam. You can give them some feedback on what they've changed with experimental, of course, are the addition of improved ragdolls and also the protractor tool on the map. And also going back on the idea of hopefully having new assets, new buildings and stuff like that on the new Island map. They did mention in this write-up that you can look forward to having many new assets with this ground support update in Q4. So I'm assuming there probably is new buildings. Thank God. The other 2 parts of this roadmap don't have release dates, but they do sound rather chunky. I'll just put them on screen. I'm not going to read everything that's in these, but there's some pretty exciting stuff here if you just look through them quickly. For example, a full electricity network on the islands. Oh, that sounds interesting. Heavy machine guns, flight suits, bayonets, suppressors. You can melee with weapons in Reforger in case you forgot, so that's good. Some optics for the Soviet weapons as well. Helicopters, a minibus, unconscious state of character, ability to revive the character, something that Bohemia implemented in DayZ, and I like quite a lot, to be honest. This gives you a second chance when you're knocked out to maybe come back up and continue the fight instead of just dying and then crying. And then the final part of the roadmap, which includes mortars, explosive charges, civilian clothes, some more vehicles, flatbed truck, blah, 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 blah. You guys can read that with your own eyes. It's a nice set of plans for a roadmap, I guess. And this isn't like a DayZ roadmap where it's like, we're going to add helicopters and planes, and never add them. These are all things which seem very doable, and looking at the current progress we've made with Reforger versus the initial launch, I'm kind of liking the progress so far. It seems like Bohemia are putting quite a lot of effort into it. I mean, they have to, right? Because this is the foundation for ARMA 4. They can't dilly-dally here. And that's what I've been kind of saying for a while now, is which goes on to my last point, is this, oh, Reforger's dead. I get what you're saying, but they have to continue to develop this at a decent pace and to improve the features and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, ARMA 4 will just also be shit. And at that point, Bohemia, their only game which is good is DayZ, but even DayZ has some pretty big issues as well. It's of course really, really important that ARMA 4 and therefore ARMA Reforger as well are not a step down from ARMA 3. Obviously, they don't want to simplify the gameplay mechanics just for the sake of making more money and having more players by adding it to console. And a lot of people had some complaints, for example, the simplification of the stand system, but this is actually something they've already addressed, at least partially, in the experimental branch, which we'll be talking about right now. So the experimental branch isn't exactly groundbreaking in what it's doing, but I'm happy with the updates we've seen so far. Like I said, ragdolls have been changed, so they finally feel more like ragdolls instead of just animations. With slight ragdolls, I'll be showing on screen right now the upgrade, the Reforger experimental ragdolls, and then right now we'll show you what it currently looks like on Reforger. You'll see on Reforger right now, the non-experimental branch, it's kind of like a canned animation plus a bit of a ragdoll, but now you really feel the meat behind the impact when you do shoot people. And you don't have the issue of ragdolls disappearing either, like you can in Reforger, when a ragdoll goes far from where it initially died. On experimental, you can now do prone rolling, much like you can do in ARMA 3 as well. Along with this, you can also adjust your crouch stance by holding control and using your mouse scroll. I'm not sure how this is going to work on console, but this is what I'm talking about. A lot of people didn't like the fact that this was simplified compared to ARMA 3, but they've added back most of this complexity. You still can't do some of the stances you can do in ARMA 3, like holding control and Q and control and E to do these weird lean stance, but I would say the ARMA 3 system was maybe just a bit too complex. It just made it kind of clunky. A lot of people didn't really even use those animations. They've added sight switching, which is huge. You can hold Alt and right mouse button to switch between the different sights. This again is a feature that was in ARMA 3, where you can swap between, let's say, a red dot and the scope on an RCO, and you couldn't do that in Reforger, and people were angry, but they've added it. So I would say Reforger maybe released a bit early, because a lot of people have already passed their judgments on Reforger and kind of said it's, you know, a watered down version of ARMA 3, and it's not really playable, there's nothing to play on it, yada yada yada. I think we probably should have just waited a bit longer to release this, because a lot of things that people are complaining about has been fixed now. But I'm happy that they have been fixed at least. They have improved the workshop quite a lot as well, allowing you to set your own mod lists and give them a name to easily be able to swap from certain mods to other mods. This thing isn't as useful because when you join a server, I mean, it has that list anyway. But if you want to play on single player and you want to have a specific mod list, then it's good for that, I guess. And as well as that, they have improved the UI with the Game Master, again, making it so that way there's just more on the screen. I would say it's less console friendly like this, but it just makes it more in line with ARMA 3 in terms of its usability. A lot of people didn't like the Game Master because it was just really, really slow to get from point A to point B on the UIs, but everything's a bit more compact and easy to get to now without clicking as many buttons. The list for the experimental update are very long. It just released yesterday, and some of these things I don't quite fully understand. For example, added new destructible system. I can't really find anything in specific. I can't blow up houses or anything like that, so I'm not sure what a lot of these things mean. But if you want to go through and look at all of these things, there's quite a lot of changes to AI to make them less stupid and all that kind of stuff. Again, I will have this linked in the description, but separating experimental and non-experimental, it's good that we're doing that. I just hope there's enough people looking at experimental and giving them feedback to make it worthwhile. DayZ have been doing that for a while now, but the thing is DayZ's got a massive player base on console and PC. Reforger doesn't have that at all. It has like 100 times less players than DayZ. So we'll see how that one works out, but the case I always go back to is DayZ standalone before 1.0. Before 1.0, it was pretty shit. It looked like it was all downhill, but they kept on saying, we're going to fix it. It's going to be good one day. And it is pretty good now, I guess. It's still got issues, you know. It's a large scale game with a lot of players, and those kind of games have teething issues, kind of reaching their goals. It's just a lot harder to make a game like that. So we'll give them a bit of leeway with that one. But I do think eventually Reforger will look pretty good. DayZ, hate it or love it, it's still really the best in the genre despite its issues, and that's again because those games are just really, really hard to make. And I think Reforger will be the same in the, I guess, sandbox milsim genre. There's really no game that comes close to it. There are games that are kind of similar, but not in the way that Reforger is trying to go with this cross-platform, super easy modability, good modding tools, yada yada yada. The next thing I want to talk about is Reforger Life. Hate it or love it, it is actually one of the mods on Reforger right now that is getting the most updates. I can't really think of any mod really that is getting regular updates like Reforger Life is, so I don't know what you want to make of that, but the updates have been going pretty good. I've shown some of those in the footage at the start of my video, and the reason I haven't done more coverage on it is just because it's still just pretty rudimentary and not really playable at this time. Since there is now the police faction and we've added in a mobile phone where I think you can text cops now, maybe, we are approaching a point where we can actually play that, because for a while there was no police faction, which is not very good, and there was no way to contact the police faction when the police faction was added. And if that's not the case, then the entire dynamic of a live server doesn't really work at all. Like, think about it. If someone's committing a crime, right, and you want the cops to know about that, like, there's no way to tell them. They wouldn't ever be able to find any crime, because how would they know the crime's being committed? So the Reforger server I'm talking about in specific is Team ELAN server. They've added in a black market system where you get a new app downloaded onto your phone. You can do some illegal things like mushrooms. You can now be a Amazon delivery driver, essentially. You can bring boxes from point A to point B. Again, it's all very rudimentary, but they are slowly but surely adding more content to this. And with the upcoming Q4 release, with the new map, new content, ambulances, new weapons, all the stuff that I talked about before, I think eventually this should be pretty fun. It's still going to have some downsides versus ARMA 3 or GTA 5, but it will also have some upsides versus those games as well. One of the biggest ones, of course, being the fact that the modding tools are very, very good. It's just, again, a lot of people don't want to even bother modding for Reforger right now because it just doesn't have anyone playing it, or they just don't want to learn new modding tools. If you create a mod for ARMA 3 or GTA 5, there's still going to be tons more players that are going to actually play that mod at this time. So there's not really too much of a reason to create content for Reforger other than, you know, preparing for ARMA 4's release 3 years or 2 years from now, whatever it is. And I apologize for sounding like a broken record in this one, but I gotta mention it again because a lot of people just don't know about it. But if Reforger/ARMA 4 are a disappointment, then I still do think a lot of people that enjoy the idea of a solid sandbox game could go find what they want with Sandbox. Sandbox is Gary's Mod 2, essentially. It's made by Facepunch, and that game is not out right now, but they have allowed a lot of developers to get access to it to start trying out the modding tools, which are, I mean, the game's Source 2, which is nice. So we'll see what happens with that one as well. That's the worst case scenario, I guess. Or not worst case scenario, but I think either Sandbox or ARMA 4/Reforger will be a big part of the gaming space in the years to come. There's no way both of them aren't successful. It's just not possible, especially Sandbox. It's Facepunch, okay? Facepunch made Rust. And speaking about my question earlier where I said, what game does have this cross-platform functionality? Rust is close. You can play Rust on console now as well as PC, and that's kind of a sandbox game, I guess, if you want to call it that. But you can't play cross-platform. You can't play one another under the same roof. So Reforger and ARMA 4 are special in that way. Whether it's good or bad, that's up to you to determine. And you can turn that off, by the way. I'm pretty sure you can turn off cross-platform. If you just hate console players, and you can make it so they can't join your server. If that's what you want, you can do that. Don't worry. I think. Or if not, then they'll probably add that. People in general were asking me a lot just how are the mods looking for Reforger? Is there any new interesting mods? To be perfectly honest, there hasn't really been that much since I originally made my, I think, 2 videos since Reforger's launch on a bunch of different mods. Those were really the highlights at those times, but looking at it now, a few months later, the mods have slowed down. People have lost interest in Reforger. They've moved back to whatever games they were playing previously. But I don't expect this to stay this way forever. So this leads us into our final question, which is ARMA Reforger dead? Well, The simple answer is yes. Bohemia themselves actually even addressed this in one of our recent dev reports from a few weeks ago, where they said we're aware of a low number of simultaneous players and the issues this is causing. While the state of the game has improved over months, the count of players hasn't been growing for a variety of reasons. We hope the forthcoming releases will break this deadlock. If you look at the roadmap, there will be many incentives in further releases. Yeah, I've got to agree with him on this one. I mean, there's no denying the game is currently dead, but numbers go up, numbers go down. We'll come back to this one in a few years. I was the same way with DayZ when it was going down. I was like, this game's dead. They haven't released the planes, the helicopters, all these things that they said they were going to add. They don't seem to be happening at all. This game's it's just going downhill. It's never going to achieve its goals. But like I said earlier, it kind of has to a certain degree now with 1.0 and all the updates that have came after that. So I'm not going to write off Reforger and say it's going to be dead forever, because it just, again, it doesn't make any sense. I've said this before, but if Reforger's shit, then ARMA 4's shit. And that's Bohemia's, like, their main game. That's what Bohemia are known for. DayZ is making them some money, so even if ARMA 4 was terrible, they'd be fine. But it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. They have so much money. They do have some skill. They're making they're using their own engine, the Enfusion engine, so it makes things a bit tricky and shit like that. You know, they have a new hire, and that new hire's, you know, Unreal mostly or whatever else. They can't just instantly go on the game and start slapping out content. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, that depends on what role they're actually working at in Bohemia. But you get what I'm saying here. I was on the wrong side of this with DayZ, and I was shitting on DayZ, and I'm not going to be on the wrong side of this one for Reforger and ARMA 4. So I'm going to say, if you want to call it dead, that's cool, but you'll be wrong in a few years. Okay? Yeah, you can, this video's not getting deleted, so if I'm wrong, when ARMA 4 comes out, we can all laugh at me. But I'm going to say, you're a fucking idiot if you think this game is going to be dead forever. Fuck. I hope I'm not wrong. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully this kind of gets you up to date with where Reforger's at. It's coming along. Roadmap. Some stuff's getting some updates. The live server is soon to be playable, I'd hope. I can't wait to go kill some console players. The console players' mics are pretty good, by the way. I've never came across like a console player with a shit mic so far, even the 12-year-olds. So that's pretty remarkable. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like. If you've got any comments or any thoughts and feelings, leave it in the comment section below. I read them all. And thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video. If you want to save 10% on your Ridge purchase, whether it's a wallet, a key case, or whatever else, then you can check out that link in the top description. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.